feel free to use this time, as working group time. Talk about what you've been working on, plans for, kind of coming up for the next year. And I would maybe ask folks to anticipate a little bit of some, things that we might kind of get to a little bit later today in our afternoon session with our UW system representatives. And I'll just ask our state climate action group met yesterday, and I thought we had some really good conversation and just thinking about some sort of broad overarching things to think about as working groups and as working group leads. And so those would be balancing speaking with one voice with our sort of campus autonomy and uniqueness. I would also ask working groups to think about long-term planning. I think we often talk about, planning in biennia seems a little, maybe short-sighted. So how can we move this conversation to be able to plan longer term, right? Sustainability planning often means, right, long-term planning. Think of maybe about where you overlap with other groups and ways that you might kind of connect with another group outside of this time to come together. Certainly, I think, energy and buildings, right, are very much related, and that's very much tied to our state climate action and resiliency. So I think a lot of these groups are going to have some obvious overlap. If you had to sort of come up with one ultimate next goal for your group, one thing that you really want to work on, what is that? What is that thing? What would be the thing your group wants to focus on and maybe bring up to system? So with that, I think we will open up breakout rooms, and we will ask. I think what we'll probably do is about 15 minutes. Within the last 15 minutes, we'll bring everybody back together, and we can maybe just do a quick report out and check in. Sound good?
Brad, could you just do a quick reminder for those that aren't in working groups, what should they be doing during this time?
Yep. So you should join a workout or a workout. Yeah, you should do a workout. You should join a breakout room or a working group room that you feel you are interested in, you want to contribute to, or you're just interested in learning more about. So we've got climate change and resilience, energy, new building design and construction, system staffing, STARS, system coordination, waste and procurement, and curriculum. And if you click on the breakout rooms at the bottom, you'll see all of those. And if you kind of go over to the side where there's a little number, you can click join, and then you should be able to join that group. I'm probably going to hop between a couple of groups. So yeah, happy work group time.
Yeah, I think the main thing is that the group leaders are supposed to stay generally where they're at unless you hand the baton off, but everyone else can bounce around.
If you have any tech issues, let me know.
Zoom Master Jake got it handled. All right, enjoy your time, folks. We'll see you all in about 45. We're back. I hope everybody enjoyed their time to chat. I think some groups maybe made a little bit more progress than others. Some groups might have had a few more team members than others. I think we want to just take a brief minute to provide a quick summary of what your group talked about, maybe one kind of key thing that you took out of your group, or maybe a main goal that you're hoping to move forward on. So I think we will we'll start. I'll just kind of move down the list here. We'll start with climate action and resiliency.
Yeah, so interesting discussion. I want to really thank Ashley and the others who joined us. It was nice to have kind of a fresh look at things, and combining John and I kind of led a little bit more into talking about our climate action, carbon and resilience plan. One thing that was awesome that made me, was a great reminder. There at one time had been drafted a DEIJ work group. And instead of that being one, we asked all the groups to see how they could intentionally incorporate DEIJ into their topic. And that was like such a great reminder. And so I think that we are going to try to revive that if we can a little bit. and set that into one of our goals. The other thing is that perhaps, and again, back to John and I being put in the room together, but maybe this needs to become a climate and resilience work group that supports those going through the climate action planning process, or those who want to, or want to feed into that in whatever direction, because that's not just facilities, that's a lot of community engagement, that's a lot of curriculum research for us as well at UWM. And so maybe that's a direction we want our work group to go. But I would love to talk to the other work group members before we decide on that. But that was a great food for thought. So John, anything else?
No, that sounds great.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Energy. I hopped over to energy group to quick keep Tony company for a little bit. So Tony, what's our one thing we want to do?
Well, I'll since I got to do a lot of thinking on my own. It was a nice quiet time for me. And I was, introspective and retrospective and all that spective sort of thing. But what I was actually doing, and I was telling Brad this, is I was reading over the fiscal year 2019 Wisconsin energy use and state facilities report put together by the Wisconsin State Energy Office. And it's interesting to look at, but the biggest takeaway, two takeaways that I got from reading that over is that our campuses vary widely in terms of how much energy we use per square foot. And then the other thing is that pretty consistently, we use roughly 3 times as much energy to create heat, which means burn fossil fuels on our campuses, as the energy that we use, that we purchase electrically. Now that's not a measurement in terms of dollars, but it's a measurement in terms of kilowatt hours or BTUs, however you want to measure and normalize that. But so looking at all of us being interested, and this again spills over into the climate goals, but the idea that we can be carbon neutral, greenhouse gas neutral by some time in the future is going to depend on us adjusting how we heat our facilities, how we heat our campuses. If we got a lot of money, we can buy our way to carbon neutrality by purchasing renewable energy credits, but I don't think that's a good solution, because we still are dumping pollution and carbon dioxide into our local atmosphere. But the bottom line is, and Brad twisted my arm and made me come up with a single most important thing. And what I would say, what we did say, is that create our system and campuses creating long-term energy/utility master plans that reduce over time and eventually eliminate the burning of fossil fuels on our campuses, which means converting our, no longer coal, but primarily natural gas fired steam generation and distribution systems, and converting those to heat pump based systems that would be 100% electric, and thereby give us the opportunity at least to be 100% renewable, depending on our relationship with our local utility, and what we can generate in terms of renewable electricity on our own campuses or through partnerships and so on. So anyway, that's the biggest thing on my list relative to energy. And since I was by myself, I got to decide.
Thanks, Tony. And I'll just say, in hopping between climate action, resiliency, and the energy group, I think, again, one of these spaces where we share and overlap is social cost of carbon, right? Things are very cheap because we're not including social cost of carbon right now into that, kind of accounting. All right, moving on. Buildings. Missy, what did you guys talk about?
Well, Rex and I got to spend a delightful 45 minutes together. Well, one of the things we talked about was how to incorporate sustainability into the system and state capital planning ranking process. And what we have done on campus was, for the first time, we incorporated sustainability as a weighted metric for advancing or rating all of the capital plan projects that we're advancing. So it's an inelegant it's an inelegant attempt, but it's our first attempt. So it was just we were talking about what other campuses have started incorporating sustainability into their capital planning project rankings, and how do we advance that up through UW system. And assuming that Department of Administration, since it's their sustainability guidelines, might want to incorporate that before they advance stuff to the State Building Commission. We just thought it as an opportunity.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. As you mentioned before, right? These projects are sort of all in competition with each other, but how can we make sure that everybody is bringing those sustainability design guidelines and sort of the sustainability metrics into their projects, so that eventually, right, everybody's project is moving towards sustainability and making sure that it gets right, the funding and the chance in the capital planning process. Awesome.
Brad, I just mentioned that following up on your conversation about how interconnected these are, one of the current weightings that campus planning uses is meeting campus goals, and ties very nicely in with Tony's master planning for energy transition.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks, Rex. I appreciate that. Dave, UW system position.
Well, we were so good in our conversation, we scared Pete Davis right out of the meeting. He sat with us, and then when we came back here, he left. He was like, "Oh Lord, I'm out of here." No, I think we had a great talk. So we had there were 5 of us in our breakout room, so we had a couple of different voices come to the conversation. I don't know that we had any one big takeaway. I think we had some good discussion about what we hope or anticipate a person in a sustainability director or vice president position for system might bring. And I think we had some good discussion about how that person might facilitate their work if they are by themselves, and how they might, how system might dedicate folks to this role from different departments. And I think another good thing that we sort of brought up, you know, we're in this waiting on a new president stage, so we don't have a lot to really go on other than to try and offer some context about responsibilities and themes and topics at this point. But one of the things too that got brought up was like, well, what's our plan B? If, you know, the new president comes in and is like, no, this isn't a position that I'm interested in or want to hire, so figure it out on your own. What are we going to do if that scenario happens? And while we didn't come to conclusion on that answer, I think we're starting to get to a point where I think we're further along by being able to say, if not A, then what happens for B, which I don't think we've been at this point in the past. And I think generally speaking, you know, we've got some people at the system level that are at least hearing us and listening to us. So I don't know if any of my other group wants to chime in if I missed something important, but I think that was really the biggest thing, is just sort of talking about the need for this position and having Pete hear that, and sort of then thinking about like, oh, well, if this doesn't work out in the next, you know, year or 15 months, what's going to be our plan B?
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. All right, we're going to hop over just to keep with time here to Alex and Stars.
Yeah. So as an introverted data guy, I also enjoyed some quiet time to myself for a portion of our time together. But I did have a good discussion with Brian, who I know had a conflict and had to drop off. And we focused in around the fact that he's just at the very beginning of his STARS journey, and different ways to think about how to get going and how to use it as a tool on campus. So my big takeaway was just a reminder for everyone on this call and everyone you work with is that I think the STARS working group is not just for people who are in the weeds and who are experts on all this, but we'd love to be a resource to help other people as they're trying to get going or dealing with issues or any sort of way.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I know my team has appreciated that working group's work a lot. So many kudos to you. System coordination.
Yeah, so we talked about the three aspects of this group, which would be communication, annual meeting, and impact reporting. The communication side, we felt like some of this stuff was more or less status quo at this point. Monthly meetings are rolling forward with a game plan. We have a listserv for better or worse, and we have a website, but the website probably could use some improvements. We had some good conversation about ways to structure the website to be a little bit more content rich without being a big lift as far as updates. Essentially doing more of an annual report, and then or kind of incorporating some of our annual updates into the website. We're currently talking about maybe dropping the campus updates out of the profile. So if you haven't filled it out yet, good for you. And if you did, I'm sorry. We may end up reversing that decision and actually trying to focus some of that energy into the impact reporting piece of it, which was the working group that Amy was leading before. The updates kind of feed into that overall. So we may look at establishing some kind of structure around that, look at reporting and the website over the first half of the year, and then basically shift back gears into annual meeting planning, which would usually start up around early summer and then run through the fall. We were then joined just as a matter of pure grace by Daniela from Green Bay, who said that she was interested in fact, hosting for 2022, which Dave has already decided will be in person. And then we decided promptly that it needs to be coordinated with a home game for the Packers, so we can, make efficient use of our fossil fuel consumption going up to Green Bay. So that's kind of the game plan right now. Of course, we're always looking for people to join the group and get involved, but a lot of the focus at this point will be getting our feedback under us as far as what the annual meeting is, who the audience is, the activities we do, and leaving this virtual stuff in the dust.
Awesome. Thanks, Wes. And last but not least, Travis, waste group.
We got Wendy on there too, Brad.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, and we've got curriculum. Sorry.
So we just talked about just the action items that we have from our group. In particular, we're isolating one just paper for the sustainable procurement guidelines and discussion. So our group talked about what we're moving forward, and then Laura and I were able to talk about all the efforts that we're doing on our campus related to waste management.
Awesome. And Wendy, curriculum working group.
I had a chance for some lovely introspection and desk cleanup. But it was great. Katie and Abrina stopped in, so I got a chance to meet our new grand poobahs that are filling Sarah Rickle's very large shoes. And so that was fantastic, and just kind of talk about some initiatives we've got going on at Stout. And so, yep, that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, looking forward to, getting that curriculum working group, maybe with some more members. I know there's folks at Oshkosh who would definitely like to be on that group and would benefit from it. So hopefully we can send some people over your way and get that ball rolling a little bit more. Yes, definitely.